for Friday, September 6, 2024. I'm Daniel Montoya Jr. with General Effect Media. Tuesday, September 3rd was the first day of DCI 2024 free agency, and we were hot out of the gate with 3 different drum corps making announcements: Carolina Crown, the Blue Stars, and the Troopers not making one, but 2 different announcements. And while Wednesday was relatively quiet, Thursday saw the announcements come from the Blue Knights Drum and Bugle Corps and the Sacramento Mandarins. And Blue Knights were strictly pedagogical, education, a new percussion team. We are going to focus today solely on the Sacramento Mandarins and their announcements. But before we get to that, if you like the content that we're producing, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. If you like it, subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so you know when the newest episode from General Effect Media is released. And of course, as always, leave a comment in the comment section down below, because that lets us know, well, you're really into what we're doing, and it, well, increases engagement and lets the algorithm of YouTube know that people should be checking us out here at General Effect Media. As mentioned, the Sacramento Mandarins announced a brand new percussion design team, which should also let us know that there will be a brand new percussion education team announced. But today we're focusing strictly on the announcement of percussion design, and they announced 3 different additions to the design team, all in percussion, of course. But before we get to them, let's talk a little bit about what they will be inheriting in the Mandarins percussion team. Now, the last 2 years, the percussion has been kind of a roller coaster as we've gone throughout the summers. By the end of the summer, things start evening out in relation to other captions, but it's kind of a slow build, a slow burn. And while it's not that big of a weakness, I guess if you take a step back, you can count that as maybe the slightest of weaknesses, especially when you consider where this new team is coming from and where the Sacramento Mandarins are located. But we'll get to that in a second. Now, in 2023, in prelims, we saw rankings of 6th in brass, 5th in music analysis, 7th in percussion, which took us to 7th overall for music. In semifinals, the brass went down to 8th, music analysis stayed the same in 5th, percussion and overall stayed the same at 7th. And then in finals, brass moved back up to 6th place, with music analysis also in 6th place and percussion and overall staying in 7th. So basically, percussion was pretty consistent 7th place overall. And if you take 6, 8, 6 for brass and average that together, you pretty much get 7th place as well. So in 2023, brass and percussion were pretty consistent overall. Music analysis were higher than both brass and percussion, which gives us an average of 7th place for all 3 nights. Now, if we go to this past summer, 2024, in prelims, the brass was 8th, music analysis was 7th, percussion was 10th. Overall, they finished in 8th. In semifinals, the brass were 7th, music analysis also 7th, staying the same. Percussion moved up to 9th, and overall, they moved up to 7th. And then if you go to finals, brass went back down to 8th place, music analysis dropped to 8th place as well, percussion stayed true at 9th, and overall, they were 7th. So basically, these last 2 years, your brass section was 7th, 8th, and percussion ended up being 7th, 8th as well, with music analysis being in that 5th, 6th. So you look at it and go like, yeah, they're pretty even. However, this year, the Mandarins placed 7th. Last year, the Mandarins placed higher, or rather in 2023, the Mandarins were higher than that. Now, we didn't have Santa Clara, but we did have the Cadets. So they kind of like switched out. It was almost even Stevens. And so when you look at the rankings, you might go, well, that's not really that big of a weakness. And you're correct. It's really not that big of a weakness. But I think maybe if you take a further step back and look into what maybe, and this is just my point of view, what maybe the Mandarins were hoping to do with a percussion change was look at the recruitment, look at the tunnel, the funnel of people, where they're coming from, how they can get the talent to California, and maybe are there some people out there, a team of people, of designers, of educators, that could help facilitate that funnel of talent to Sacramento, California. So it was that in mind that I believe, among many other things, including these guys' biographies, which are pretty stout, they brought on board Ian Grom, John Mapes, and Trent Gronwald. I hope I pronounced that term correctly. Now, all 3 of these people have a huge pedigree, a long line of experience, both designing and educating at the high school level, at the independent level, and at the drum corps level. They've done it as performers. They've done it as teachers and they've done it as designers. And most of their work has been done in California, with Ian Grom doing some sound design work, in fact, being the first ever sound designer for the Cadets Drum and Bugle Corps, then going on to be a music arranger, music composer, music coordinator, designer for percussion and electronics and brass with Richard Saucedo at the Blue Stars Drum and Bugle Corps from 2013 to 2016. Now, joining him was his longtime Box 6 writing and teaching partner, John Mapes, who was also at the Blue Stars Drum and Bugle Corps. He's done some work at other drum corps as well, and both of these guys have been writing tons of music for indoor percussion. They dabble a little bit in marching band arranging, and of course, they both spent a stint of time together at the Blue Stars, 2013 to 2016. John Mapes has some other experience, I believe, with Pacific Crest, if I'm incorrect. Nope, that's the next one when we get to Trent Gronwald. Now, Trent is a student right now learning composition, music arranging, working with Ian and John, helping out with front ensemble arranging with Ian. Now, he did work with the Pacific Crest, if I remember that correctly, and of course, I left my sheet of notes at home on that, so that's great. But regardless, Pacific Crest is in there somewhere. The Cadets are in there, Blue Stars, because that's where they spent those 3 years together. So this is pretty stout, because you're taking one of arguably the 3 greatest percussion indoor designer teams. You have John and Ian, you have the Broken City guys, Kevin Shaw and Mike Jackson, who were most recently at Carolina Crown, and you have Andrew Markworth, who is now at the Blue Stars, and you've got this funnel, this tunnel, this stream of talent as teachers, as educators, and as kids who want to come march with these individuals. Now, it's easy to point at Carolina Crown at the brass section and go like, people want to learn from Matt Harloff. Bluecoats, people want to learn from Kevin LaBeouf. Percussion, people want to learn from Paul Rennick. All of these things are absolutely true. And in the indoor world, I think there is that same, I want to play music and do a drill and do this by Andrew Markworth, Kevin Shaw, Mike Jackson, Ian and John. Like, I think that you have this team of people, Andrew Markworth, Box 6 guys, the Broken City guys. People are going to follow these teams like they will follow the Rennicks, like they would follow Matt Harloff. Now, before we talk about how John and Ian did at Blue Stars, I noticed that you're looking at my shirt. And yes, this is a General Effect Media shirt that you too can purchase. This is a sample. This is way too big. It's not going to be this big. I got it and I go, that's too big. We're going to shrink it down. If you are interested in this shirt, in this color, in other colorways, or other fun General Effect Media shirts, be sure to click on the store below. You can follow it. There should be some links, the little pictures. Please support the brand. All profits after administrative fees go towards our content creators, and that's a way that you can show your support for the brand, for the content creation, for the writers, as well as the aforementioned YouTube clicks. But if you would rather just give us money, we'll gladly take your donation at coffee, ko-fi.com. Give as little as you want, give as much as you want. Again, after administrative fees, all the profits go to the content creators. Now, the Blue Stars, I mentioned that both John and Ian worked there from 2013 to 2016. And I can't name the names of the shows because I know names of shows. I don't really get years. Now, I get that 2002 was Frameworks by the Cavaliers. And I get that 1995 was a drum corps fan's dream, part uno, though they didn't know there was going to be part dos, by the Madison Scouts. So I'm just going to go with the years. Now, in 2013, as a part of the Blue Stars design team, they placed 12th. In 2014, they moved up to 9th. In 2015, took a step back to 11th. And then 2016, moved back to 9th place. Now, these are pretty standard. There wasn't a whole lot of deviation on there. You have to think back to the mid-teens. This is more than 10 years ago when they started there. It was a different world of drum corps. It's interesting to go look back in 2013 to 2016. Look where the Bluecoats were scoring. All right. Still really good. Still really good. Crown had just won. And Crown, look at Boston Crusaders. Where were they at? Look at the Madison Scouts. Look at Phantom Regiment. It's really fun to go look back and then go, look at the Blue Devils. Where were they at? They were pretty much where they've been. So anyway, regardless of all that, they did a great job at the Blue Stars, did some shows that solidly in finals. Other than that 11th place, I wouldn't say they were in danger of missing finals, but I don't really remember that season. That was 2015. That was almost 10 years ago. But regardless, pretty successful there. Now, you could say, well, they weren't as successful as they were in indoor percussion, and that would be true, but that's a whole other train of things. If DCI is a train, they're merely one of the cars in a train. Whereas if they are running an indoor drum line and it's John and Ian doing it along with their drill writers and choreographers and stuff, like, I think it might be only 2 or 3 cars, and they're in the conducting, they're the conductors of said train. Now, earlier I mentioned why I think the location of these designers and the location of the Sacramento Mandarins was important. When it comes to percussion, I have found, and this is not my only opinion, I have learned from other people, not just percussionists, but other people affiliated with Drum Corps International, that in order to have a pretty successful percussion section, number one, you probably should have success in Drum Corps. That works. You should have a big name like a Matt Harloff, a Paul Rennick type, right? A Skojo, that type of thing. But in this day and age of indoor drumline pipeline to DCI pipeline, the handshake could never be more important than it is right now, which is why I think part of the reason they were excited to have the Broken City guys at Crown. Were all the Broken City people going to go to Crown? I don't know. Are they hoping all the Rhythm X people are going to follow Andrew Markworth to Blue Stars? I'm not sure. But if you have a very successful team of designers who are in California and they have cut their teeth and put a gazillion skins on the wall in the state of California, working with the drum corps in the state of California, and you have people that grew up playing in a California style, the pipeline, it's right there. I think that's a big reason of why the Blue Devils are so successful. You could say maybe similarly for the Santa Clara Vanguard, though Paul Rennick teaches at North Texas. Like, there's a whole Texas coalition that goes there, and there's a whole kind of thing. I'm not going to say that Paul Rennick's the anomaly. Paul Rennick is similar to Matt Harloff, right? There's a lot of... The Carolina Crown isn't 100% South Carolina people, right? Like, there's tons of people from all over that go march the Carolina Crown, that go march the Blue Coats, that type of thing. Same thing with the Vanguard. But I think if you're trying to establish a stout percussion section, and you want to have some great innovative design, and you want to have a pipeline, it makes total sense that if you're located in California, you try and find a successful team that's already in California. Look, Chino Hills, POW Percussion, Pulse Percussion, so many different tentacles that John and Ian reach out and touch, not only in the state of California, but beyond, but probably most importantly in the state of California. I think that is a huge reason why. I think maybe the design team set out and go like, who can we find in California that's pretty good and will help our pipeline of recruitment? Now, you can throw a stick or a pebble and hit a dozen very talented designers and teachers in the state of California for percussion. But there are very few as big or bigger than John and Ian. And if you want to talk about hitting a grand slam higher, I think this is that. It's still incredibly early in the design team free agency of 2024, but short of a Pete Weber coming out of retirement, a Jim Prime coming out of retirement, a Jay Bocook coming out of retirement to write for Drum Corps, this might be the biggest hire of the year. And man, they've got talent in Sacramento in all sections. They do. And they've got talent in California, and they've got talent all over the country. Don't think that only Californians march Pulse shows or POW shows or any of that type of stuff, or Broken City. There are people that pick up from Texas and move to California, or they pick up and move to Nashville so they can march Music City or Broken City. This is big. This is huge. If you don't know much about percussion, go look up these guys. Their bios are not only on the Sacramento Mandarins website, they're on the Box 6 website. You can see just the stuff that these guys do. They're very talented. They've got a lot of skins on the wall. And if you are a percussionist that is thinking about auditioning for the Mandarins, thinking about leaving the Mandarins, or thinking about staying at the Mandarins, this is going to be good. This is going to be very, very good. They're successful inside and out. And guess what? Drum Corps is inside and out. Just the feels bigger. So anyway, regardless, kudos. This is going to be fun. It's going to be very fun, very exciting. Can't wait to see how the teaching and the design prowess of John and Ian go along with the design prowess of the already established design team of Becca, Vince, and Peter. And then they have Mike Anderson as a design consultant. It's crazy. It's crazy. In 2023, Mandarins had a really successful year, a lot of mojo, a lot of steam. And I'm not saying that maybe they were disappointed with this year, but there was a drop, and I'm sure that they thought that maybe they could take a step forward and as I've said multiple times in episodes of the recap, so it's not just coming out of nowhere, I think the style of music left a lot to be desired for this brass section. New Orleans jazz, it has a sound, it has a style, it has a vibe, and I don't really think it was executed as fully and as emotionally as 2023 was. And I think that's more of an understanding of the music and how to play it and how to interpret it. 2023, I think the kids locked in. They knew exactly what they were doing. In 2024, I think there's maybe a little uncertainty. I don't particularly care for New Orleans because I don't care for jazz. I don't care for seafood. And the last time I went to New Orleans, I saw the UT Longhorns lose to Washington and I got COVID. So I'm not the biggest New Orleans jazz fan or New Orleans in general, but that's not why I didn't like the show. The show was fine. I just preferred 2023 to 2024. And from the way it looks, I think maybe the performers did as well. Those who did and those who went. But back to percussion. Grand Slam of a hire. Fantastic. May end up being the hire of the year. We will see. But it's going to be fun, isn't it? And that does it for today's episode of The Recap. We will be back when more drum corps announce any potential design team changes. Yes, we've had some changes to instructional staff and stuff. And, I could talk about that. I don't want to say that's not as exciting, but as a designer myself, I'm more excited by the design team changes. If you really want me to talk about instructional changes, let me know in the comment section down below. I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to really devote a video to the third baritone tech or the fifth tuba tech. Maybe a caption head? Sure. Let me know how involved you want me to get with all these changes. But for now, for the time being, we're just going to talk about major design team changes or executive director, core director type changes. As we do, it's time to pay some bills. If you love General Effect and you're going, I really wish that I could read some nerdier stuff. GeneralEffect.media Substack. This is how we started the written word. We produce articles about marching band, about drum corps, about Winter Guard, about all kinds of stuff. Give us a subscription, give us a subscribe so you can keep track of all that. And you'll also get an email letting you know when the newest episodes of The Recap or other shows that are coming your way are released. If you're more of an Instagram type person, well, we have that covered. The young people run our Instagram page. I do not. I just pay for it. It's free. I don't pay for anything. So if you really want some cool photos and videos and stories and whatnot, marching band season's just around the corner. It's going to start. It'll be right there. Give us a subscription, give us a follow, just give us a like. Anyway, click, like, share, all that stuff. We really appreciate it. That's awesome, fantastic. So yes, as I mentioned, be sure to stay tuned to here at General Effect Media. We're going to give you all the news, all the updates, and all the headlines for all the marching arts, band, drum corps, Winter Guard. Who knows what else we'll do? I might get bored and talk about other things. And here's a little hint about what's to come. We're going to do some, for a lack of a better description, some 30 for 30 type in-depth, maybe deeper retrospectives, an inside look, a tracing of time, etc. I've already got one story that I'm working on currently, and I will just give you a few hints. Number one, it's 25 years. I'm going to look back at the last 25 years of a green drum corps from the Midwest. So that's all I'm going to tell you about, but just know the machine's turning. We'll catch you next time on the next episode of The Recap. Why didn't I say the gears are turning? The gears are turning. The gears are turning.